Okay, okay. I think it's time I address the elephant in the room. America finally made an Ultraman movie. We know it was about damn time. Welcome back, and welcome back. Today we are talking about Netflix's newest animated kaiju movie, Ultraman Rising 2024, directed by Shannon Tyndall, which follows the story of Ken Sato, a famous Japanese baseball player who is the son of the legendary hero Ultraman and must now take on the mantle, but not before he must raise a baby kaiju after defeating her mother and figure out whether or not he is worthy enough to carry the mantle of Ultraman. And I gotta say, this movie, it works. It's genuinely a really sweet film, and I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it. In reality, it's not a story about Ultraman as much as it is a story just about family and what it means to have a family. For you see, Ken's relationship with his dad really became strained after his mom passed away, and it all kind of comes down to the fact that Ken just doesn't think that his dad ever cared about him. Obviously, we know that's not the case, as we see throughout this film, and he doesn't understand or grasp that concept yet. And so now that Ken has his own child, for lack of better words, that he has to raise, he's kind of come to the point where he's like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing with this child. I don't know how to raise a child. I can barely manage my own life by myself. And it's not like he can rely on other people because, well, he's Ultraman. How is he going to rely on somebody he knows to help him raise a baby monster, especially when you take into account that he doesn't have friends. He acknowledges this in the movie. He does not have friends. And so the only person he has left to turn to is his dad, and you see that relationship between the two grow and rekindle, and it's kind of like watching a burned bridge rebuild itself in a very natural and beautiful way, in my opinion. Now, with that being said, this film is not without its issues. Like I said, it's an Ultraman movie, but it's really not, in my opinion. I was not surprised to find out that this film didn't actually originally begin as an Ultraman story. It was about billionaires and stuff like that, but then when eventually they realized that the Ultraman IP could fit in this, and so therefore they put the two together, and bam, now we've got Ultraman Rising. And because of this, there isn't a lot of Ultraman callbacks or references or things like that. So if you're a huge diehard fan of the franchise, you're not going to get that from this, whether that be for better or worse. I do wish it utilized a little bit more Ultraman lore and the bigger world, but, you know, it does what it needs to do. It has your basic fundamental Ultraman concepts like his infamous transformation or his style of fighting, his fight stance, things like that. The color timer, all that jazzy stuff. Now, as for what worked, like I said, this is a very heartfelt story about family. Ken and his dad have this strained relationship, and like I keep emphasizing, seeing them come back together and rekindle that father-son relationship was very beautiful and nice to see. And one of my favorite parts about this is that they actually named the baby kaiju after Ken's mother, Emmy, which I thought was a very adorable little touch. And as you see them raise this child, you see them work really hard towards not only like improving themselves, but trying to improve one another and try and understand one another. And I think that was a very fundamentally important aspect of a father and son relationship, or just any parent-child relationship that they nailed in this film. The animation is spectacular. I gotta be honest, after I saw the first images and trailer of this, I wasn't too sold. I thought Ultraman looked a little too skinny and was a very elongated art style that I wasn't on board on. But seeing it on screen, damn is it good. It kicks ass. It feels very dynamic, and it kind of makes me realize that we need more tokusatsu property animated, because the potential is there, and this film showed that potential. There's so many great dynamic action sequences, especially the final battle in the ocean. I don't know if it was just me. I think this might have been a callback to Pacific Rim. It really reminded me of the Hong Kong fight in the way that it's set up and the way they fight, and I thought if it is a reference to that, then I'll be damned. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but it's cool. I love Guillermo del Toro. Update: Guillermo del Toro has watched the movie, and it might have been a reference to that. Nice. I especially enjoyed scenes where they would do this thing with the camera where it would pan with the character as they were going for like an action punch or some kind of action movement, and it looked really, really cool on camera, especially because they would like change the backgrounds to be like these just lines shooting back, and it would look super dynamic, and God, it just worked. And the dynamic lines and random lines that they added allowed for it to almost look like a comic book or manga coming to life. And I thought that was a really, really cool touch that they did. It's clear that there was a high level of attention and detail put into this film. One of my favorite aspects of this is the fact that one of my favorite aspects of this is the way they use the color timer in the movie. Traditionally in Ultraman lore, the color timer, which is the little button thing he's got on his chest, is just what it is. It's a timer. He would only go into Ultraman form for a couple minutes and then transform back. But in this movie, they modernized it to be a thing about stress. The color timer, rather than just be a thing of like, oh, you can only fight for a certain amount of time, it's a timer based on your own levels of stress and anxiety. The calmer you are in a battle, in a high intense situation, the more you can use the Ultraman powers. But as soon as you start to stress out and lose control over yourself, the color timer will turn you back into a human. And I thought that was a really cool thing, and it allowed for some very comedic, for some very interesting moments in the film where Ken would have to really learn and understand himself and try to get in tune with his emotions and things of that nature. I mean, and honestly, in general, there's not too much to this film. It's honestly a really simple story that I think kids and adults of all ages will enjoy. It's your classic giant aliens versus monsters film. What more could you want in life? But before I finish, I do want to talk about Ken as a character, because I think he's a very fascinating character. In a lot of ways, he reminded me of RDJ's Iron Man, in the sense that he is this high-end guy. He's very famous, very popular, but he's struggling a lot. And throughout the film, we see that deconstruction of him as a person, and him learning humility and how to be a good person and how to be a family man and things like that. And throughout the story, he's clearly hurt by his past, but as a famous baseball player, he also has to deal with his own career, and this can prove to be difficult because obviously, since he is in the limelight, it can be hard for him to hide his powers as Ultraman. And there's a point in this film where you see him go through it. He has to struggle with being a trash baseball player at some point, saving the world in the city as Ultraman, and raising a kid. And that struggle is where you really see him as a character progress, because for the first time in his life, he's had to think about somebody other than himself. And so seeing that accumulate into one moment of his life, which could be one of the most pivotal moments of his life, as he just started a new season of baseball, was really fascinating. And it leads to one of the best scenes in the film, where he breaks down and he doesn't know what to do, and he starts questioning himself, who he is. But in that moment, he looks at what's most important to him, and that just happens to be the kid, the kid's well-being, Emmy's well-being, and how baseball as a concept has always saved him. And obviously Ultraman has also saved him, but through the kid, he sees what Ultraman represents, which is the good and hope in everybody. This is obviously an animated movie, and things are hyper stylized and things like that. I think it's a very real thing. He has this emotional and mental breakdown, and he doesn't know what to do. He's just looking for an outlet. He just wants to be good enough in this world, and when he gets that redemption, it feels earned, because we see what he's been through. Obviously, whether or not he started off as a good or bad person, we learn to understand why he is the way he is. And obviously, while Ken is at the forefront of this story and this IP, for lack of a better words, the side characters also do a pretty good job at supporting him and the story overall. I think Mina the robot babysitter was really fun, and I was surprised by how sad her death was. She was there for Ken throughout the whole film. I don't know if she got the respect she deserved, and I kind of wish she came back in some sort of capacity at the end. And her final scene with her and Ken at the exploded mansion was really sad. It was really, really sad and heartfelt. Amy, the interviewer, was also a pretty good character. She didn't really do much in the story, and I thought they were going to take her character in a different direction than what they did. But that doesn't mean that she was a bad character. Every time she showed up on screen, especially with her daughter, led to some really interesting and funny dynamics. And of course, I can't leave without talking about Ken's dad. While we don't get to know too much about him or how he got these Ultraman powers, it's implied that he got them in a similar way than how it was shown in the original Ultraman show. But we only get a couple scenes of him in his prime Ultraman mode. And then at the end, we get Old Man Ultraman. It looks funny, but it leads to some really, really cool action moments. I do really enjoy his dynamic with Ken. You can tell that he's been trying to rekindle this relationship with Ken, but Ken hasn't been budging. And when Ken finally does realize that he's been trying, it leads to some of the sweetest stuff in the films. And he's also the one that ends up naming the baby Emmy, which I thought was really, really nice. But that's it for Ultraman Rising. Like I said, it's not a complicated movie or a complicated story. I think it's great for people of all ages, and whether you're someone who's just getting into tokusatsu, has been a fan of the franchise for forever, or even just a casual viewer, I think you're going to enjoy this movie. Do yourself a favor and check it out. It is available to stream on Netflix right now, and I definitely recommend you watch it. But if you have seen it, let me know what you thought down in the comments below. Whether you loved it, hated it, or just thought it was alright. Tell me everything. Tell me what you liked about. Tell me your favorite characters. Tell me your favorite Ultraman series in general. Give me some Ultraman recommendations. I've been trying to get into Ultraman for a while, but I have honestly no idea where to start. I've only seen episodes of the original series, Shin Ultraman, and now this. So who knows? Maybe I'll do a full deep dive into Ultraman, everything. Oh man. And as per usual, thank you, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch me talk about a really tall, skinny man. Why is he so tall and skinny? I don't understand. And until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys. I got a haircut. I probably should have mentioned that.